Okay, so as not in any order. So first, Cavite is where it all started for IIRR, and I think also for DEPED, because at that time, we didn't have good integration between school, gardens, and nutrition programs. And I think with the DEPED help and all the leaders that were involved in this, with FNRI, we developed this model. Since then, school meal and the recognition of school nutrition has reached an all-time high. So as you know, 2-3 weeks ago, DEPED inaugurated the first universal feeding program for kindergarten. It has not happened before, but every kid in kindergarten is now provided universal feeding. This is a long time in the making. 15 years ago, a team of ours went to some senator's office to talk about it. And I remember exactly who was with us to talk about universal school feeding. It has only happened now, thanks to leadership of DEPED. So, school meal coalition has now come up, and the entire globally school meals has received the recognition. Where the school meals comes from is another question. Is it homegrown? Is it acquired? Is it in the school? So do not get confused with the models. How many of you are principals? Okay, so your school administrators or principals, at your level, you can make it happen. You can wade through the maze of projects and proposals and opportunities and make sense out of it all. No? So you will hear new terminologies. But at the bottom line, integrating gardens with nutrition in schools is crucial, whatever the model. And now you have canteens, right? How many of you are in the canteen, associated with canteens, right? So this is again a new notion. Before we assume that the canteen would be involved, now we are making sure, you are making sure that the canteens have a role to provide healthy food. Then another thing that has happened, so school meals is now recognized, okay? So school meals are increasingly being recognized and valued. And I think one thing that has happened after the pandemic is indigenous vegetables are finally also recognized. I attribute it to the pandemic. After the pandemic, there was a huge. Right now, indigenous vegetables are, no one is challenging that notion that indigenous vegetables are important. So we made a lot of progress in the last, 10 years or 15 years. So I think what's important, it should be driven by what DEPED wants to do, what you in your school wants to do, what you in your division wants to do. And when you have people that are now at the municipal level, like some of your colleagues are going to go to the municipal level, you also get support from the municipal level. Why? Because you have decentralization and local governments have funding. So if you get the concept right, funding will follow. You should not be donor driven as some external donor. But to be very honest with you, IIRR manages this program now without external funding. It's very important to know because we are committed to it. We are limited by what we can do because we do not have funding for school work in Cavite, other projects. So, but if you believe in it, you've got to follow. And you've got to continue to do that. Now, what we need to know is that we also have other notions that are coming in. Some of our school gardens have shifted to hydroponics, and they're growing only lettuce. I ask you the question, is that the right thing to do? It's good to have hydroponics, but you can't have a whole school with lettuce because you cannot eat lettuce every day. I like lettuce, but I cannot eat lettuce every day. So that's what, how are we dealing with the exotic, hydroponics and all these things coming here, there, and all. It's the innovation, not the purpose, that we're following. So balance, so you have an innovation here. By the way, we have hydroponics on the side, but it's one side of it. So how do we maintain the school gardens so we do justice to indigenous vegetables? So the model always was 60% indigenous and 40% exotic. So 60-40, that 40 could be your lettuce and all the other things you want. But to reduce the risk from crop failure, you need to highlight 60%, 70% of indigenous vegetables. I have a very small garden and I work 2 to 3 hours, not 2 to 3 hours, 1 to 2 hours every day, morning and afternoon. And 80% of the vegetables I eat are grown in the garden. And I don't have a lot of time, but my key to success is I grow indigenous vegetables. I have alubati, I have malungai, I have Japanese malungai, I have a amaranth, and so on and so forth. That's every day my 50 square meter garden gives me something. And not a day goes without my eating vegetables. Because I'm concerned about my health. I'm 75 years old. And I have to be careful because every year makes a difference now. So I want to manage. So fiber is very important to me. I don't like it, but I have to eat 1 cup of greens every day. So one day it is kamote leaves with malungai. Another day it is kangkong with something else. So it changes from day to day. Of course, I have a helper at home, so I can ask what I want, right? So keep in mind health. Keep in mind climate change has really hit us. My avocados this year are the smallest. I have one tree. Okay. My okra is not flowering as often. And you know how I know? Because my Facebook says 10 years ago, 5 years ago. So I said, 10 years ago I had this. Oh, now I don't have it. Climate change. Climate change is affecting pollination of crops. So the flower comes but does not set because of climate change. Now, unless you're going to go into greenhouses, your best option is indigenous vegetables. Why? Because the capacity of indigenous vegetables, they call it, it's like plasticity of the genes. If it floods, it survives. Flood for a short time. Drought, it survives. I'll give you an example. Patane, Batao, Kajos. Rain or shine, colitis, and so on and so forth. Because they have the genetic capacity to adapt. So this is climate change adaptation. Is your garden supporting climate change adaptation? You will not get the prize for the best garden if you are growing indigenous vegetables. I'm sorry, that's how it is. The God says, what the hell does this look? All kinds of things growing together. You will not get the prize for the cleanest garden. if you are going indigenous, we have a big insect problem. In our garden there, I don't know if you have time, please stop at the BIG. We have 20 kinds of camote. And you know those 20 camotes? We've had it for 15 years. And they have VSP this, VSP 6, something else, a number, but they're all native sweet potato. And you know what? 5 years ago, we had a scientist here who got an award, World Food Award, for orange flesh sweet potato. But when he came to our garden, he saw that we have yellow, we have orange, we have violet, we have purple, we have red. So he asked his wife, can you get some couples from my area? Okay. So you see, just because some scientist somewhere got the prize for orange flesh sweet potato, you have it. Okay? I don't know how many of you have seen the deep violet camote, deep violet, purple. I have seen it. It's the reason why Japanese live so long. You read about it. Look at Netflix. You'll find that story about people that live more than 100 years. Camote eaters, particularly the violet ones. Okay? So climate change requires a particular ecosystem. If everything is lettuce, you will have more insect problems. Whenever you go two crops together, the insect population drops by half. Any two vegetables grown together, insect population drops by half. 3 vegetables together, even less. This is SIAP data from Colombia, not my tall story. Okay? So diversity reduces insect problem. Diversity reduces risk. Now, last year, with Cavite State University, we measured the temperature in our BIG. It is 1.5 degrees less in our garden than here. It is 1 to 2 degrees less in the soil in our BIG because we have organic matter and because we have cacahuate all around, the garden is cooler. Please stop by as you go out and have a look at it. So in our biointensive garden, you do need cacahuate, okay, which is something people do not believe in. They say, yeah, I have a cacahuate, I have 1 cacahuate and I'm growing. That's not going to help. You need to have it all around, so it's going to reduce the temperature in the ground and around the garden. So temperatures drop by 1 to 2 degrees, and this research has been done by Cavite State University in our garden. And we can share with you the results, or Sheila can share with you the results. So you are adapting to climate, you are mitigating the impact of high temperature by growing trees like cacahuate in and around your garden. So this is extremely important. So maintain your garden ecosystem. And while you might not be talking about carbon, in our BIG, because we have different kinds of plants and we have shrubs, it has become carbon storage. The cacahuate stores carbon in the ground. So it's carbon smart. So please, if you take one message from me, that is grow 20 cacahuate trees in your garden. And you cut it every year, you use it as a fertilizer, you will have more earthworms. And soon you will have a good soil life. And your soil will not dry. And your roots will go deeper. So you understand nature, like in the forest, you walk across there, nobody waters that forest. Big trees, nobody waters it. It takes care of itself. And we're calling it circular economy now, new word, circular economy. That is circular economy. You buy nothing from outside, right? So, we, high climate, more pesticides. Do you know that the tomato that you and I eat from the supermarket most likely is coming from Mindanao? And I have been to that part of Mindanao, I cannot remember now. Tomato is sprayed 2 times a day. You cannot get a big tomato in the Philippines unless you spray it 2 times a day. Okay? Tomato, eggplant, and ampalaya are the biggest users of insect pesticides that you can find anywhere. I don't have cancer, but I have 2 colonoscopies, and I have polyps growing in my intestines. Why? Why was that? Fortunately, they are not cancer. But nowadays, cancer, stomach, if I ask you how many of you know somebody who has stomach cancer, I'm sure half of you will put your hands up. Where are you getting stomach cancer? From your food. What is your biggest source of pesticide? Vegetables. You say good nutrition, good that, eat more vegetables, then you're eating pesticide. You're better off eating kalabasa. You're better off eating kamote than eating the exotics. Or grow your own ampalaya, grow your own vegetables. Never mind if there's some insects on the leaves. Why you worry about it? It doesn't have to be. So keep your health in mind. I just give you a very personal example, which I don't usually do. But I'm concerned about my health. I'm very concerned about my health, particularly at my age. And I want to share that with you. So it's also education for life. How can we use our gardens for school children to learn about food, to learn about the risk? You know, nobody wants to talk about pesticides. No one wants it. Good agriculture practices promoted, but you know what is good agriculture practice? You still go using your pesticide. That is good agriculture. It's supposed to contain and manage it and all that. It's supposed to produce and all that. You know, last week, so many school kids were poisoned in a school in the Philippines because somebody in the farm sprayed a pyrethrin, cyclotrin or something like that. So keep in mind that, and so I encourage you to continue to do ecological approaches and also continue to maintain that. Now, 2 last points I'd like to make. One is the crop museum. The crop museum is, by the way, don't feel bad, but how many of you saw my gummy soup this morning? Anybody checked on that? So I put a picture of our kamote here, 20 varieties of kamote. Okay, so there's a website. So crop museums are an important part because that's where you can see 5 kinds of eggplants, 6 kinds of okra, and so on. So maintain diversity in your crop museum. That's the original purpose of the crop museum. And the crop museum is also a seed source. And the crop museum conducts seed exchange fairs, which is an extremely important part where you bring seed exchanges. And the seed exchange can also use planting materials, cuttings and all. I've seen some very good ones. I think the last one we attended, I don't remember where it was, but I'm sure it's one of your schools. So, maintain the crop museum, continue the seed exchange, I think that's it, and don't forget food culture. Your food culture, whether you're Ilocano or you're Visayan or you're Mindanao, I know it featured a lot of vegetable. And I do know that in Cavite, it's a little bit less compared to other provinces. But there's nothing wrong in picking up from other cultures in the Philippines. So keep going and try to broaden the scope of your garden so that other objectives like biodiversity, climate, and nutrition. I know I sound like I give you a lecture, but thank you so much for listening to me.